Marketer of the Day, episode 648, Indies United. Create and market your self-published book with Lisa Orban.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Lisa Orban, and she is the founder and author of the publishing house Indies United, which you can find at indiesunited.net. And she has a cookbook called I'd Rather Starve Than Cook, a cookbook for people who hate to cook. And we're going to talk about her books and her marketing and all the fun stuff she has going on. So how are things today, Lisa?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. How are things with you?
Not too bad. Similar to yourself, have a lot of things happening at once, but that's a good thing, right? It's good to be busy. It's good to have those multiple actions, multiple streams of income, as long as we can keep it all organized somehow.
Exactly. I mean, if you get too bored, it means you're doing something wrong.
Right. So tell me about just what you have going on lately and what you set up.
As you said, I'm the founder of Indies United Publishing House. We are a co-op of authors, unlike more traditional publishing houses. So all of our authors kind of have a say in what's going on. They retain the rights to their books. They keep 100% of their royalties, which is really nice for a lot of our authors. But because we are a publishing house, you get a lot of the benefits that come with being a publishing house. One of those is we have recently been added to the Library of Congress in their database for publishing houses, and all of our books going forward will be added to the Library of Congress, which is kind of a nice little bonus for a lot of authors. And we have a lot of stuff going on. We have a new catalog that just came out, and of course we have our website for all of our authors, and a lot of marketing and promotional and campaigning stuff. So busy all the time.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear it. So it seems like with this whole publishing stuff, like there's the old way of years ago where, it would take so long just to get a book out, and it would run through so many hands, and it would just take so long, and it just wasn't working. And then at some point, Amazon decided to shake things up and give us all this magical thing called self-publishing. But then it seems like the self-publishing, it empowered a lot of people to get their books out there, but also left a lot of people hanging, right? Because it's like, well, you put all this time into making a book and formatting it right and putting it out there, and a lot of people seem to think that that's the end, but then, oh shoot, now it's time to get some more eyeballs on it and market that book. So how does Indies United and what you have going on, how does that help authors in a way that the old model of publishing didn't, and the way that just going it on your own doesn't?
Well, because we are a hybrid. So we have some aspects of traditional publishing. We have some aspects of, like you mentioned, Amazon publishing. So when our authors come to us, they come to us with what we consider publishing ready manuscripts. So they've already been edited, formatted. Now we do have vendors on our site that will help our authors with, the formatting, with cover art, with editing, those kinds of things. And they've all been vetted. So whether you are a member of Indies United or not, you can use these services and be guaranteed you're actually going to get what you pay for, which is so important, because there's a lot of people out there that will absolutely take advantage of an author. But as I was saying, so they come to us like this. We do have a review process because unlike Amazon, we have gatekeepers. Not just anyone can publish with us. Your book has to meet all of our editorial standards. So, if you've just kind of thrown something together real fast, quick, and in a hurry, odds are you are not going to be admitted to Indies United. Now, we will give each author that submits something to us that has been rejected, a full comprehensive report on why it was rejected, grammar, editing, spelling, whatever it is that, is inhibiting that book from being a part of us. But as long as your book meets those standards, then we will welcome you in. And so that's what kind of makes us really different from traditional houses, because since they have to invest so much money in every author they take in, they're very, very limited on how many authors they can produce every year. So it's less than 1% of all submitted books to a traditional publishing house will make it, will be accepted into these houses. Whereas at Indies United, because of how we're set up, we can accept an unlimited number of authors. So, and because we are a collective, each of our authors, once they are admitted in, help promote each other and our house itself with advertising and promotion through their own social media webs. So they will pick up our advertising and really expand it. So instead of just reaching a couple of hundred people, we can reach a couple of thousand or more for every time we post something. So that really helps build the awareness of us and bring more awareness to our authors with very little effort on their part. They don't have to create any of the marketing campaigns. They don't have to create any of the advertising. All of that is created and supplied by us. And then we do, of course, do a lot of paid advertising on behalf of our authors. So, so all of our authors get a lot of attention and a lot of notice that they would not be able to get on their own. And so it's kind of this very nice little compromise in between, the self-publishing and traditional publishing that has the benefits of both and very few drawbacks for our authors. We do supply the ISBNs and we do charge a small processing fee for them, but that's the only cost and association with being with us.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a great deal. And so the way you described that, you said that with a traditional publisher, only 1% of books even make it through. And then I'm sure some of these authors, they might have spent years pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into a book, and then they're rejected and they have no idea why. And your path seems a lot less scary because you'll say, if let's say the book isn't quite there, you'll say, well, these things need to be changed and maybe come back once you've made these improvements.
Exactly. And we don't have a limit on how many. So if you have a book and you've submitted it to us and we've rejected it for whatever that reason is, and again, we give you a full comprehensive reasons on why, you fix it and you come back to us. And if it's still not quite there, we will go through it all again, and then you can submit it even again. So until your book reaches that editing standards that, we have to maintain for our readers, we will continue to accept your books as long as you are willing to put in the effort and the work to do it.
Cool. Yeah, just get up to those standards. And what's also great about this community, so to speak, that you've created is that, everyone should, of course, have their own Twitter and Facebook and maybe even a YouTube channel and things like that. But like you said, trying to jump into paid ads and figuring out, maybe like, networking and things like that, some of that just might not be doable for people. And I mean, even you're on this podcast, you're promoting all the authors basically. So it's good to have other people in your corner and in a sense, like pooling all those resources together. So that way you're not just starting from scratch when it comes to traffic.
Exactly. So, and what are the, we do have, for all of our accepted authors, we have a forum on the writing forum that's private just for us at Indies United. And so all of our authors can connect to each other. We can share marketing tips. We can share what's been working for us, what hasn't. And we use that also as our database for when we have book launches. So everyone knows when our next book launch is going to be, what the materials are that they'll need to promote. So, when we do a book launch, we have a reach of over 100,000 people that we'll reach every single time we launch a book. And then, of course, for every new author we bring in, that reach extends because it'll go across their social media as well. So each time we add a new author, our reading base, our potential increases exponentially with each new author.
Right. That's awesome. And so right before this call, I was looking at some of your titles and your websites. And what really impressed me is that you're set up everywhere, right? Like a lot of authors are set up just on Kindle, or maybe if you're lucky, they have the what was formerly CreateSpace, but like the physical version. And you're set up all over the place. I mean, you're on Smashwords, you're on Goodreads. So you're doing a lot of the right things. But was it always this way, or did you make some mistakes along the way in your publishing journey?
Well, as an individual author before I started this, I made a lot of mistakes. We all do. The thing of it is that when it comes to publishing a book, that there isn't a how-to guide. Essentially, we're all, when you walk into the self-publishing world, we're all just kind of stumbling along, going, God, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I made a lot of mistakes. But fortunately, I had people that were willing to step in and help me and say, hey, you're doing, your book is great, but you need to be doing this, or you should think of this. And I did a lot of research, and, so basically a lot of what Indies United is if you're a first time author, if you come to us, a lot of those mistakes that we all make, because we don't know any better, they're not there for our new authors, because we do provide how-to guides on how the best way to market your book and where to produce it or where to publish it, for distribution sites, how to set those distribution sites up. We take a lot of that uncertainty and lack of knowledge that we all had at the beginning and fill in those gaps. So they don't have to make those mistakes that I made, that a lot of first time authors make. And, and again, because, we are a very supportive community. If for some reason you were to run into a problem somewhere along the way, I'm here to smooth that out for you. And we've even had, we had a problem with one of our authors publishing. It was on Amazon, actually, and it wasn't a big deal. They just kept rejecting his manuscript, and it just said there's a problem in here. It was a 400-page book, but they wouldn't tell us where, and they rejected him. So I called up on his behalf, and within 10, 15 minutes, as soon as I said the magic words, publishing house, they were on it, and it was on page 5. And it happened to be, there was an extra little dash mark that shouldn't have been there on the page number. It was something really stupid. It managed to just, pass through all the, we all missed it. And, but I was able to easily get it fixed. Whereas if he had been on his own, he could have been searching for months for that little dash, because they wouldn't give him any information other than there's something wrong with your document.
He might have never figured it out. Something as insignificant as a small dash might have held him back from ever getting published at all. He might have spent those months trying it out and just figured, well, I guess publishing's not for me.
Exactly. So I mean, silly little things like that can prohibit an author from publishing a book. And because of how a lot of the bigger distribution sites, such as Amazon, operates, they're not user friendly. They set it up so that you can do this all on your own. But if you need them to assist you in something, when it comes to indie authors, they're generally very unresponsive. So it's, anyone who has gone through this alone and has ever had to deal with Amazon can understand why that's kind of a big deal, because it is. It's very difficult to get them to pay attention to you. But once you join our collective and become a part of Indies United, I will jump in and take care of all those things for you. You don't even have to worry about it. You just have to let me know about the problem.
Yeah, just focus on what you're good at, and then you can focus on your stuff. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it sounds like really cool, where you can have that aspect of everyone in this collection of people in your group can all put their heads together and help each other solve problems, mm-hmm. or help each other with the launch. And then you also have the kind of authority figurehead thing, where you just on your own have a lot of knowledge, and by getting through the gatekeeper in Amazon, just because you say, I'm a publishing house, you can even get even more reach or even more things solved, as opposed to just one single person trying to do everything.
Mm-hmm. And it frees up our authors to do the one thing they want to do, right? Because if all they have to do is, once a day go onto their social media feeds and see what I've already posted and retweeted out, as opposed to having to create and set up all their own marketing and publish, publication material, promotional materials, because I take care of all of that for them. So, I create the book launch package and create all this entire marketing campaign that is continuous as long as your book is a part of Indies United.
And so what do you think a lot of authors are missing? Like, obviously you're saying that you do a lot of work for these authors so they can just focus on writing, and mm-hmm. You get all the gears turning and all that. But would you say that authors need to be building a list, or getting reviews, or following up, or getting set up on all these distribution channels? I mean, where should the focus be?
Yes, all of it. If you're doing this on your own, it's all of it, and it's all equally important, because it's each a piece of this puzzle that will get you noticed. So, and all of those things take a lot of time and a lot of research if you don't have someone helping you. So, you have to figure out where to spend your money and what the best distribution channels is, and trying to gain readers, and of course getting reviewers, and how to get those reviews out in front of other potential readers. And it is a lot. The fact is the average indie author will spend probably 2 to 4 hours every day on marketing and promotion if they're doing it all on their own. And that's a lot of time that they can't spend writing. But it needs to be done. These things are very important, and because they're trying to figure it out all on their own without the guide that we give them at Indies United, it could take them months, years even to get, what I can give them just simply by being a part of us.
Oh yeah, and that is a scary statistic there, 2 to 4 hours a day, and imagine how much of your life that adds up to be. And everyone wants to live that Stephen King lifestyle where Stephen King just spends an hour in the morning and write 2,000 words and call it a day, and then you have these big, thick 800-page books times 80 books or however many it is.
Mhm.
But then if you're spending just an hour writing and the rest of your day marketing, I mean, that's not fun. You have a full-time job, so why not go about things the easy way? And so you personally are also a published author of a bunch of books. And I know that you have like a cookbook and a political spoof and a kid's book and all kinds of stuff like that. So how do you choose the books that you're making? Is it a matter of like, do you start with your passion and go and see what's out there and then mold it into something that's marketable? Or how do you go from the a big list of ideas to narrowing down the one idea for your next book?
Well, I started off as a memoir writer, and I have 2 in a book series that I'm still working on. It'll Feel Better When It Quits Hurting and Wine Comes in 6-packs, and the next one coming out will be Good Friends Bring Shovels. So, that's kind of where I started. The rest of them, the cookbook was an accident. Literally, it was an accident simply because all of my children are grown and I hate to cook. And I had created all these recipes over about 30 years of raising my kids and having to feed them. And I kept getting these phone calls from my kids. Hey, Mom, how do you make this? Hey, Mom, how do you make this? And finally, I thought, maybe what I should do is just put together a cookbook for them for Christmas, and then they can stop calling me and asking me how to make things. So I did. I put this all together for my kids for Christmas. And when I got done with it, I realized, oh my God, I really have a cookbook, a real live actual cookbook. And so after Christmas, I started, formatting it for other people. And it took me about 4 or 5 months to get it all together. And then I published it, and weirdly, it's right before I published it, I was telling all my friends, I'm like, you know what? As everyone knows how much I hate to cook. I mean, this is like one of those things that everyone associates with me. And I said, if it's this cookbook that makes me rich and famous, I'm going to be so pissed. And it's my most popular book. I sell that one like 10 to 1 to all the rest of my books. I'm like, oh, so I enjoy it. But there's kind of an irony to it.
Right. And what's really great about that story there is it seems like the way that came about was it was like you were tired of repeating yourself, and maybe that's something that people out there can think about and pay attention to. If there's something that people keep asking you for, like that same information again and again, and you're so tired of just saying it out loud as if you were living in the Stone Ages, repeating the same story past generation to generation, and you wish there was something you could hand to someone. I think that's a really good sign, because that's something where you're automatically knowledgeable enough where people are asking about it, and there's also enough demand because even just your inner circle of friends are asking about it. So imagine if you put that out to the world, you could have similar success there.
Yeah, and a cookbook has a universal appeal to it. I mean, let's face it, we don't all like to cook, but we all have to eat. So, and everything in this recipe book is, it's quick, it's fast, it's easy. In a lot of cases, it's cheap. So, on average, I think it costs about $5-6 a meal to create something that's in this cookbook. So, it's very sustainable, and I make it very easy, and I give a lot of, unlike most traditional cookbooks, I offer people alternatives, and I give them permission to experiment with their food, because the thing of it is when it comes to traditional cookbooks, whatever amounts they're giving you of most things, that's the chef's preference, not necessarily written in stone. So, you can change things up. You can switch things out. You can use a little bit more of this spice and a little bit less of that, or you completely eliminate something and still have it taste good depending on your personal tastes. So when you buy the physical book, it does come with places where, people can write down the modifications they've made to the recipe that they preferred. There's a place in the back to add their own recipes. So it's very interactive. So, and you can update it as you go along. So I think that's really kind of a nice thing, because again, we're all very busy. We all have limited times. A lot of times our budgets are very tight. And this book addresses all of those things in one handy little format.
Awesome. And I like that a lot, how you differentiate in that way of, here are some alternatives, plus it's cheap, plus you can write in your own alternatives. And what it reminds me of is like Tim Ferriss's cookbook, or like Tim Ferriss was tired of all the cookbooks having the section for all the chicken recipes, the section for all the breakfast recipes. And he made it where it was like, started you off with just how to make eggs, and moved you to how to make osso buco, all the way up to how to like catch a pigeon in the park and cook it. And then and then he has you go to Home Depot to buy acorns, and somehow you turn acorns into coffee, and just like starts you off simple, but then gets you to the really weird and advanced stuff. And I'm kind of a sucker for like just differentiating in that kind of way. And it's one thing for people to like see the inside of our book and to be kind of impressed or see how we're different there. But how do you stand out as far as the marketing aspect? Like who knows how many millions of cookbooks out there. How do you get yours to stand out?
I think the cover does a really good job of that. To begin with, a cover is very important. That old adage of, people judge a book by its cover is absolutely true. So I think that what initially brings them in is a combination of the title of the book, I'd Rather Starve Than Cook, and the cover, which is actually, that is really me. I'm sitting at my best friend's in my best friend's kitchen, and those are my kids, or our kids, her kids, my kids, and our grandkids, all standing behind me, opening up cabinets and taking things out of the cabinets. So it's just this kind of funny picture that the look on my face and the disaster going on behind me is something that I think every parent can relate to. and it brings them in. So as soon as they see that cover and the title, as soon as I can get them to notice that, everything else, it's pretty simple for me to make the sale from there, because it amuses people. And like I said, it has this universal appeal for people that not only don't like to cook, but don't have time to cook, or a lot of college students buy my book because they're going out on their own and they have no idea how to cook. So, it kind of goes across the spectrum, of the average person who simply has to cook every day. It's not a special occasion book. It's an everyday, event.
Right. It's something that's actually useful. And what I'm hearing from your answer here is just how important it is to put ourselves into our marketing. Like, use your own name, your own picture, your own personality, have some fun with it. And it reminds me of maybe 20 years ago when a lot of us first got on the internet, and there was GeoCities and Alta Vista, and that was about it. And everyone was afraid to use their name. Like, people wouldn't even post their first names, right? You'd have a fake username, and you wouldn't have any pictures of you. And now in this day and age of Facebook and Instagram and
Twitter.
Snapchat, it's like, Twitter, all of that, you kind of have to have somewhat of yourself in there, just because it's so dang crowded, and a lot of people are too shy, too afraid to use themselves. And that's great for you, because if you're the person that actually stands out and has a personality and has a silly, in a good way, title like I'd Rather Starve Than Cook, whereas your competitors say, well, here's 800 cookbook recipes, then like you're the one that's going to automatically win. So I think that's a really important lesson there in putting yourself in your marketing, and then putting that extra effort into having that good cover. That way you make a good first impression.
Yeah.
So if people
Well,
are listening, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, from this cookbook, that putting myself into it works. If you're a memoir writer, it works because the pictures on the covers of my pages are me, because they're memoirs. But if you are writing, say, a fantasy book or science fiction or crime mystery, those require a different type of marketing, a different type of cover. So you when you are creating those things, you very much have to keep your target audience and the genre of standards in mind. So what would work really great for my cookbook would probably not work for a crime mystery. And so you have to, whenever you're setting your book up, you really have to keep that target audience in mind, and how you are going to create the look and feel of your book.
And what's good about that is that, I mean, you're thinking about that a lot. Like you're aware that because your cookbook, for example, it helps people get these food creative for a low cost. You know that a lot of college kids use it, so then you can tailor some of your marketing or social media towards those college kids, as opposed to trying to talk to everyone and not saying anything.
Right. So we do try to really target individual, the various groups, especially during a book launch. We have different targets that we aim for whenever we do a book launch. And like I said, I mean, we generally get over 100,000 responses back. So that's, now I can't guarantee you're going to get 100,000 sales. Please don't get me wrong on this, okay? Because responses and sales are two separate things. But most of our authors do notice a bump, especially if they were previously indie published. And part of that is the way that a lot of the algorithms work throughout the publishing world is house authors get better analytics than self-published authors. And it's unfortunate, but there is a stigma attached with being an indie author, and it's often not fair. But there it is, because it's in publishing houses control a lot of the aspects of what goes on in the publishing world, and it's in their best interest to continue to look at indie authors and promote them, or stigmatize them as unworthy authors. When in a lot of cases, it's not that their books aren't good. It's that at that particular time in the market, or with that particular publishing house, they're not in that niche that they're looking for. So you could have a great book that, like, maybe 3 years ago the publishing house would have picked up, but because they have changed their focus, it no longer is. And it's very fickle. It's kind of like the easiest way to describe it is like watching TV. You'll notice there'll be like one cop show that'll come on, and suddenly there will be 15, and then you'll have nothing but cop shows, and then suddenly romantic comedies will start to trend. And so, publishing houses do the exact same thing. The advantage of Indies United is we don't have to singularly focus in a particular area. We can take as many authors as want to join us in. So we have the ability to do that, and it's easier for us to cross promote a variety of books. And I mean, we have everything on our site from adult coloring books all the way over to we have a book coming out, I believe it's next month, that's on logic and analytics. So we run this really big gambit, and of course we have your standard sci-fi and fantasy and detective mysteries and all sorts of other things. So we can give our readers this large variety of books to choose from, and really give them options, and it's so we can start, as we get bigger, we could have a selection similar to Amazon, but with the knowledge that when our readers come to us, know that each of these books have been vetted for quality. So it's not quite the random crapshoot that it is, on Amazon, on Smashwords, on other publishing sites. So, that kind of adds a nice little, comfort, I guess, for our author or for our readers. So if they're going to spend their money on a book, they at least know that it's, misspelling and grammatical errors and stuff like that is not going to drive them crazy.
Sounds like a way better way of going about it, because if people out there were trying to figure it all out themselves, I mean, everything changes so often that it might take 3 years, it might take 10 years, and who has time for that? If you were ready to go at 52 and now you're 62, just trying to figure it all out, like that doesn't sound like fun at all. And then trying to go with the traditional publisher route, as you said, they might just not want you, might not be a good fit, or it might have been a good fit 5 years ago when this type of book was popular, but now you missed the boat. So instead of driving yourself crazy with all the possibilities, why not go the easy way if you're an aspiring author or an existing author and you want to not go it alone and you want to have enough traffic and enough sales so that your analytics make sense, then you need to kind of pool your resource a little bit and also have someone in your corner who can look at those analytics and help you make heads or tails of it, because some people look at those numbers or those graphs and they say, am I looking at the right thing? Is that good or bad? I don't know. So it makes a lot of sense to go about it this way. And that community is indiesunited.net. And do you have any other links or resources to throw at us as we wrap this conversation up?
Well, let's see. If you would like to find us on Twitter, you can find us at Indies United Pub, PUB. You can find us on Facebook at Indies United Publishing. And we do have an Instagram that is linked to